We got some applause for you. That is just for you. Thank you so much for being on the program. We're so excited to speak with you this morning.
Wonderful. I'm happy to talk to you too, Eddie.
That is great. 2017 is it's looking to be a huge year for Chrysta Bell. You got a record coming out. The Twin Peaks has been announced, and it's been rumored that you're an official cast member on the show, and things are getting crazy. How are you handling it? How are you holding up over there?
Well, I'm doing my best. I'm drinking probably too much coffee
Right.
and getting a little bit too excited all the time, but that's kind of when the magic happens for me. So I just kind of never stop working, planning, strategizing, scheming, and that's kind of what I do with most of my day.
Right. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, having a big project. Obviously, the record is going to be huge. You worked with John Parish on this record. He produced this record, and then obviously your relationship with David Lynch. Everyone's familiar with that. But you got the series. How do you prepare for such large scale kind of event? I mean, is there any way that you can prepare emotionally, kind of mentally?
Well, this is an interesting thing because I don't exactly have anything to compare this upcoming experience to. I think even just if this rollout to the show is any indication, it's going to be madness. And I'm kind of thinking I'm going to have to just hang on for dear life. And I'm doing all of the preparations that I know how to do, but I think really it's just going to be the adventure of a lifetime, and I don't know exactly what that means or looks like, but I am so open to whatever it may be, and I think it's going to be maybe even thrilling, exciting, horrifying, magical, and then and then all of that all over again. So this is kind of in my mind what I think it might look like, but the intensity of the fans for Twin Peaks is a touch intimidating.
Right.
But I'm gonna just do the best that I can and make sure that I enjoy every moment.
Of course. I mean, it's obviously the global phenomenon of the original Twin Peaks became. It's going to be I can see where it could be quite intimidating and rather huge shoes to fill, and I can only imagine. That's why they didn't call me.
Well, Eddie, I think that part of it is the unknown. There's this kind of mystery and intrigue around it because there had been before this just cult following that I don't know if any other probably Star Wars could give it a run for its money, but it's really this phenomenal thing what Twin Peaks was and continues to be to this day, so precious to the fans. And so really all you want to do is step up and be the very best that you can be so that you can be welcome into this world.
Right.
And that the people who cherish the world of Twin Peaks and hold it so dearly in their lives will be happy that you are now a part of that world.
It seems. I mean, that's kind of. That the what you hope for is that it's embraced like that, and with such a high profile series, there must be a lot of secrecy around it. Not much information has come out about it, and people are chomping at the bit to find out any new information. Has it been tough for you to kind of keep quiet, knowing what you might know?
The answer is yes. And initially, it was maddening to hold all of this information and for it to be so. I mean, you can't, not even a peep, not even a little bit could be given, because then it just starts opening doors. Partly because the fans are so smart and so curious that you have to be incredibly close to the chest with all of the information. And initially, that was really, really hard. But as time went on, because this project's been in motion for a while now, you start to, at least my experience is that I am growing more and more even attached to the secrecy.
Right.
Like, there's so few mysteries now in this day and age of social media, and there's so much information, there's so much access. And so to be a part of something that's so delightfully mysterious and, terribly mysterious, it's like, it almost hurts, the suspense.
Right.
But like, that's the beauty of it as well. So it was really, really hard at the beginning to hold it all inside. And now I'm relishing that. And I find it to be a really beautiful opportunity and really rare to have this secrecy, around something, and have the element of surprise and the excitement of the unveiling be intact, when the show comes out. So there's something really just like precious about it that I've just decided to go that direction. Right. Instead of being just, overwhelmed with the desire to share everything that I know, because right. that would be devastating. And I'm pretty sure I would just get like immediately sent to the Black Lodge if I indulged. So that's also helpful. You don't know what would happen to you. You don't know who would come into the night and just kind of suck your soul into oblivion if you by chance were giving information that you weren't supposed to give. So
I would be worried. I would be worried that you got, there might be some fans digging in your trash looking for clues or something.
That I'm not going to lie, that would be both thrilling and horrifying all at once.
All at once.
It hasn't happened yet that I know of, but. Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
I bet. I mean, if that does happen, you got to come back on the program. We have to
tell you all about it for sure.
There was some. Obviously we were talking about. There's rumors and there's this and that, and I saw this thing on the classic website IMDb. They added some new information about the new series. Listed a lot of actors on there and their potential cast names, and they listed you on there. Do you know anything about that? Can you say anything about that? Is that even accurate?
What I can say about IMDb is that it can be populated by fans who are speculating but don't know anything, and they're excited fans who want to be a part of the action of Twin Peaks. Right. And and I saw that as well, and I all I can say is that the secrets are still intact, and that IMDb is just a website that thinks they have a lot of information that may or may not be true, and the element of surprise is not endangered. But I would encourage people to just let the secret simmer. Right. And let it sizzle and await expectantly for the truth to be unveiled, and that's going to be the best way to go.
That's being patient. That is going to be tough.
This is the theme of my life, has been patience, and this remarkable experience of being in Twin Peaks is no different than that. It's taken remarkable patience, but I have a feeling that the payoff will be worth it.
That's we're all excited, and the show airs, I believe, is it May 21st on
Indeed.
Showtime. So we're all going to be sitting there with our TiVos already. I'm excited.
Me too. Me too.
Was there a moment? I mean, we saw there's a trailer for the program where they brought a lot of the older cast members from the original series, and they kind of were just hinting, talking about the production of it and the excitement around it. Was there a moment for you where it kind of clicked to you, like, holy crap, this is, wow, I'm a part of this thing? Was there any kind of a wow moment for you?
You know, those moments have been coming in waves since I was asked to be a part of the project. And, you know, I can't even compare it to anything else. It's just been this, like, stream of revelation that I'm actually a part of something that's so special and that kind of really seems like a dream. Nice. I mean, I don't really honestly know that I've fully digested the information and stepped into the reality of it, because it is kind of fantastical at the moment, and you know, and it's such a big project, and really no one knows anything. I mean, so because of the mystery and because of the vastness of it, you know, I have these moments of kind of like that inner squeal of delight, and then I have moments where it just kind of seems like, you know, maybe it's never actually going to happen, and so I kind of live in that place, and I don't know that will even change after the show comes out. It might just kind of continue to be this thing that lives in another dimension.
Right.
But I just kind of like, I'm kind of in awe of really just the show is coming back at all is already just so tremendously interesting and cool and unusual and historical.
Right.
And then that I get to be even a small part of it is like this just huge wow, and then kind of, you know, like awe.
It's I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, because it is such a global phenomenon. And the fact that, you know, I mean, obviously you've had a relationship with David Lynch, collaborating on music. That obviously the dynamic working in, say, a studio or writing music is one thing. But then when you're working on, say, a film project or a television project, you know, the roles are different. You know, how did the roles kind of change for you? I mean, obviously you've got this long relationship with him, but you're in a different role. Was it a different adjustment for you?
Well, you know, with David, what I can speak to that, I can't really give any specifics about what our relationship on set necessarily was, because that could give things away.
Right.
But I can say that David, throughout my history with him, he's just, the way that he directs is like, it's very conversational. It's like you're having a conversation with the person that has absolute knowledge about the subject that you're talking about.
Right.
So you're just completely at ease with deferring to how this person views the situation, and you feel very confident in the guidance that's offered. And then you have this really just kind of wonderful person that the exchange is happening with. So David is just this kind of great guy who's incredibly capable. And then you have a conversation about what either the mood that is looking to be conveyed, you know, in that moment, and then my job is to convey it, and so that's what we've done with music for almost 20 years. You know, he writes music, and he has these ideas for the mood of the song. And then I come into the studio and listen to the music, and if I feel like viscerally the music that he's playing for me, then he shares with me the vision that he has, and then either he gets some lyrics that he's already written, or he writes some lyrics on the spot that just add to this equation. And then I go into the booth and start singing, you know, and that's the direction. The direction is moving together towards a vision, and David just, giving you the anecdotes or giving you, just kind of cradling you in the experience to allow you to evoke the mood that carries forth the vision. And so I think that David, this is kind of the magic of it, is it seems like it's coming from you,
right?
But really, David's been guiding you, and he trusts you to be in that moment. And so you're like, great, I guess I can do this. If David thinks I can do it, I'm here with David. I feel great about this moment. Let's see what happens. And that's really kind of the genius of David, is the direction feels like it's almost coming from within you, and you've got this incredibly competent guide, and then you just do it.
Is there a you guys work together, and it sounds like it's a very interesting collaboration. When you guys are working, is it a fast kind of thing where you're trying out different things, or is it a very slow process, or is it a little bit of both? What's the pace of the organic kind of creativity that's captured when you're making music?
Yeah, well, it definitely varies. Sometimes we've had certain songs. For instance, a song called Polish Poem that was in the film Inland Empire.
Right.
It's a 6-minute, maybe 7-minute song. It's very long, but I actually, was able to bring through all of the melodies in 2 or 3 takes. So that song, was like 3 hours total,
wow.
But he had written the music beforehand and the lyrics as well. And then my part, I came in and it was about 3 hours. And then there were some songs that we started, let's say in, 2003,
right.
and they weren't done until 2009.
Wow.
Or maybe later. And so those it's different every time. And then there's sometimes we're in the studio together and it's really cooking, and I feel like I'm finding the sweet spots really fast. And then there's sometimes when I feel like I'm never going to find it, and I'm so far away, and I'm barreling down the highway in the exact wrong direction, and so then those moments, you're kind of starting to feel like maybe it's just not going to happen, but it just means that it's going to take a little bit more patience,
right.
A little bit more coaxing to find that sweet spot, and then you just do it until you find it. And yeah, that's taken up to maybe 6 or 7 years in the process with David sometimes, but again, that patience is sometimes brutal, but it's always worth it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and obviously, what comes out of it is just gorgeous music. And I have to ask you, because you're doing some acting, you do some modeling, you're a great performer, and you do touring and releasing of albums. When you wake up in the morning, what do you identify with at first?
At first, it's music. Music is and singing and performing on stage is my happy place. I'm always trying to get there, and
right.
I love the other aspects of the process and the writing and the recording, and I really enjoy modeling as well. But making music is all about getting to the stage to perform the music and sing for the people who are at the show, and that exchange is my heaven on earth. Besides, of course, being with my family and my loved ones,
right?
That's the stuff. But music is where my heart soars, and that's the art that is the first thing that's on my mind to create in the morning and at the end of the day. That's what I want to be doing with music.
You have a new record that's going to be coming out. Do you have a date for the record? It's called We Dissolve. Do you have a specific date for the release for that?
Yes, it looks like June 6th is going to be the release for the record, and it's been a journey to get it complete as they are, because there's so many elements involved, and there's also strategy involved,
Right.
and there's an art. After you've made the record, the next part of the art is the release of the record, and you put so much effort and energy into the creation and the writing and the recording, and then that's just the first phase. And I'm now, that phase is complete. We're packaging. We're in the midst of manufacturing. The images for the record are beautiful. The packaging is coming along fantastically, and I just keep moving towards that date, and then I'll be doing a tour in Europe, and probably a few dates in America as well. And then I get to be on stage and go to my happy place.
Right. Well, we talked earlier. We mentioned the producer John Parish, he helped with this record, and he worked with people like PJ Harvey, and you also had a lot of great guests on the record. Was there a significance for you personally having this record be a record that wasn't a collaboration with David, but something that's kind of all your own? Was there a personal kind of a triumph for you?
I would say it's something of a rite of passage. This is definitely a significant moment for me, because David and I have been so closely involved musically for many years now. But I've been making records, goodness, I don't know, probably 20 or 25 that have never been released.
Right.
And it was all to hone my skills as a singer and a musician and a songwriter, to be able to release something that I was super proud of, and to not have David kind of, metaphorically holding my hand for the process, but for it to be really all my own, is definitely a moment in my life, and perfectly appropriate. And with David, it was always this, feeling of wow, I have this amazing person who is supporting me and assisting my process, and never really had expectation that honestly we'd even ever finish our album. And then we had an album, and then we continued making music, and then we had another EP, and then we had this new chapter of Twin Peaks creating together. But it was time for me to be musically more independent, and so that's this moment is Chrysta Bell, kind of going out into the world without that parachute of David Lynch, and hoping that there's a net somewhere. But I feel super confident, and I'm really excited about the record. And John Parish is a dream. He's such a wonderful person and so talented, and I was in such good hands with John as a producer, and the songs I feel are really strong and really personal, and a foray into a slightly new territory, but still very reverent for the music that I made with David.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing, is you don't want to leave your fans without anything to hang on to, from your previous work. And so I feel like this was really the perfect transition into the next phase of my musical reality. And so I'm really looking forward to bringing it out into the world. And I hope that, I'll have the thumbs up from my Lynch, Chrysta Bell musical fans,
Right.
and then and it'll open some new doors for some new fans. So yeah, that's the dream. That's the goal.
How is the songwriting process for this new record? When did you start working on these particular songs, and how did they kind of organically come together?
Yes, well, I have a songwriting partner that I work with who lives in San Antonio, Texas, and we we've been really writing material for this record for years, and that's just kind of what it takes.
Right.
Is a lot of workshopping, and so we probably wrote, I don't know, maybe 25 or 30 songs
Wow.
for the record, and John, when we sent them to John, and John chose the 10, or actually 11, but there's 10 on the record, and we have one kind of bonus track that were the most appropriate for the production style that he has, and that came together nicely as a body of work for the album. So I went to San Antonio and workshopped music and hooks and ideas with Christopher Smart, who has been in my life probably, since I was about 16 years old. I was a big fan of his music, and then brought him on board to play bass in the Lynch project for the touring show, and then started collaborating with him, writing songs. So that was just quite a long process.
Right.
But that's what it takes to get the material, and so probably really about 3 years worth of writing to get the 10 songs that we have for We Dissolve.
Right. Wow. I mean, but that's a great, that's a great vetting process when you're doing something at such a pace, because you're able to really kind of, look at things from a lot of different perspectives, and you grow with the material as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You mentioned San Antonio, and you grew up in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. And what was the earlier years for Chrysta Bell like, growing up in Texas before you came out to California, before you even got into music? What was life like as a youth growing up in Texas?
As a youth, well, there was never really a time before I got into music because I started pretty early with musical theater.
Right.
And my parents owned and ran a recording studio. My stepfather was a composer, producer, engineer. My mother is a singer, and she was a session vocalist, and she also managed the studio. So they were together at a very young age. Maybe I was like 8 years old, and before that, my mother delivered singing telegrams as her vocation.
Wow.
So there was always music in my reality, and I'm so grateful for that upbringing, because music, I think, would have been my passion regardless of whether I had such a exposure to it, but I did have an exposure to it, and I was always really supported in my passion for music. But there was, I did musical theater, I did tap dancing.
Wow.
And then I was obsessed with like Michael Jackson and the Go-Go's and Kermit the Frog.
Right.
And these were my early influences. The Eurythmics,
Of course.
I was really into to that. Really the pop music that my mom really liked, that she brought that into my life, and we had the cassettes, and I'd play the cassettes, and I would dance around, and then by around like 11 or 12, I was doing voiceover at the studio, and then started working as a session singer by like 14.
Wow.
And yeah, so really that was it. And meanwhile, I was trying to act, doing auditions for commercials and such, but that it just kind of never really seemed like I was right for the part. I went on a lot of auditions and never really got a yes, and so kind of figured, well, really, I guess music is where it's at for me, and kind of let the acting part go, and then kind of landed an interesting acting gig at around 18 years old, in a kung fu film.
Is that right?
Right, and then thought I would do acting, but then joined a band when I was about 18 and a half.
Wow.
So, and then music was the rest of my young life and into adulthood.
I mean, when you were smaller, did you feel like you were maybe a little different than the other kids, obviously with this other background doing voiceovers and getting into acting? Did you stand out as a child in school?
I think that I don't know. I mean, I hear now, like, people that I went to school with, they say things like, yeah, you were a bit different,
Right.
and I was always in the talent shows and doing everything I could to just, get on stage. But it wasn't like I was incredibly confident. It was like I just felt at home when I was performing and didn't really feel super at home,
Right.
like just like in class. I didn't feel like I was really a standout as far as, among the other children. But when it came to performance, I was, I guess pretty gutsy for, I just wanted to get on stage and kind of see what happened.
Right.
And that was a real thrill to me. But, if you saw me in class, you probably wouldn't have picked me out to be like the performer. But that's what was inside of me.
That's I also your name is interesting too. Your Chrysta Bell is a lot of people may mistake that as your first and last name, but Chrysta Bell is your first name. Is that do you get do people just call you Chrysta, and do you get that a lot?
Yes, you're hitting the nail on the head, Eddie. Yeah, my first name is Chrysta Bell, and this was my last name is Zucht.
Wow.
And it didn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Right.
So as a performer, I felt like Chrysta Bell was really strong. But it's two words, and I didn't really foresee people thinking that my first name was Chrysta, last name was Bell. So it's a bit of a dance sometimes, like letting people know actually, I say it's like a double first name, like a Southern thing.
Right.
But in actuality, my name is from a poem by by a British author named Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and my mother read this poem to her class when she was in high school, and thought that it was a beautiful name. And then, she figured out how she wanted to spell it, and she made it two words. And, this is a process. And I think that once people know it's Chrysta Bell, they'll just know. But until then, yes, it's Chrysta Bell. It's not Chrysta.
Right. I was there's a lot of words get thrown around when people talk about you singing and seeing you perform. A lot of people say, that it's very dreamlike, and it's ethereal, and it's got this kind of quality to it. And I wanted to ask, personally, do you have any connection to dreaming, to dreams, to the dream world? Is there a personal significance with you that comes out in your music?
Well, I think that the music I've made with David in particular is more looking to open up other dimensions and looking to dip into an otherness, and the otherness that many have, kind of the closest experience with is dreaming, because
Right.
Dreaming is this other place, this inexplicable state. We don't quite know why it happens, but it's so mysterious. And I think that was my effort to recreate the essence of the music that I've been making with David, which was very other dimensional and cosmic and dreamy. So in my desire to present that feeling on stage, I looked for ways to invoke that feeling, because that's what the music does. And when you go to see an artist that you love, I feel like part of that is to have a visceral live experience of what you get when you listen to the record, but
Right.
different from the record. But so I was always looking to embody this dreamlike quality, and it's not like I had these conscious thoughts of what that would look like, as far as my movements. I just desired to embody that feeling, and then allowed myself to do what that felt like for me as a performer. And so I think that this kind of is what was translated, was this kind of ethereal nature that really was the intention for the live performance, to take you into another place and to be a bit different than your usual life, a little uncomfortable, even a little, ultra real,
Right.
ultra sensual, ultra like apocalyptic, ultra cosmic, all of those things. I just wanted to have an invocation, and those were the words that tended to come up as far as the explanation was, like, dreamlike. So I'm down with that. That's fine with me.
Right, right. I mean, it's great. It's such a, and I've seen the videos of the performances, and they're just spellbinding. And obviously, the audiences are just kind of caught up into this. I don't know what you would want to call it, like a mood or something, but then
Sure.
it just grabs them, and it's so. It's a very incredible, and I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned that you're going to be touring over in Europe when the release of the record comes out, and hopefully in the States as well. Do you plan on doing a sort of an extensive United States tour at some point?
Absolutely. And, these tours are, they take a tremendous effort to organize and to come to fruition. And at the moment, Europe has been really open and receptive, and America, I'd love to be here, and I want to do more touring here. And David always says, you go where it's hot for you.
Right.
And so far, Europe's been hot for me, I guess, which I love the way that sounds. But so I'm working on creating that heat here in America,
Right.
and it's happening. And so far, it's the big cities, New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, and I feel confident that I'll be hitting those cities in May and early June, and then maybe when I come back and the tour is still coming together, but that's certainly the intention, is to get to build some heat
Right.
here in America.
That's great. Well, I'll bring some matches, baby, because it's going to be
Great.
Well, I got to tell you, Chrysta Bell, it has been just an absolute pleasure speaking with you this morning. I'm very excited for you. The release of your record is going to be in June. We Dissolve is the title, produced by John Parish. And, of course, everyone can catch Twin Peaks when it airs May 21st on Showtime. I want to thank you so much for spending your morning with us and sharing these details. I love it. It's so great to hear you hear all of these great insights.
Oh, thank you, Eddie. Thank you for your great questions, and I appreciate being on the show. I've had a lot of fun too, and I wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you so much. Hopefully, we'll catch up with you soon once the show is released and the record is out, and we'll get you back on. That'd be fantastic.
Sounds great.
Well, thank you so much, Chrysta Bell. Take care and best of luck to you.
Thank you, Eddie. Bye-bye.
You got it. Bye-bye. There it is. The one, the only, Chrysta Bell.